What the hell is up, everyone? Louis back here again for UFC San Diego. Marlon Chito Vera taking on Dominic the Dominator Cruz. Hell of a main event at bantamweight, of course. Can't wait for it. Honestly, the card's not that great, but this main event makes up for everything. Super pumped for that one. Quick recap, last weekend I did awful. I did not know Vicente Luque's chin would expire like that, but that's my bad, minus 200. There's always a risk there. And, you know, I just made some poor decisions. Jamal Hill saved me, though, so thank goodness for that. But I just kind of chased too many underdogs and picked the wrong ones again. Is what it is. Doesn't matter. New week. Did my research. Let's get into it. First fight of the night, 135 pounds, men's bantamweight. You got Yusuf Zalal taking on UFC newcomer Damon Blackshear. Zalal took on Sean Woodson in his last fight. In the first round, he was pressing with some jabs and feinting some 1-2s. He threw a jab, then he'll shoot a double on the fence, then work to the clinch, and then he misses some hooks, but eats some 1-2s where they're trading back and forth in the pocket. But then he's able to get the single, can't finish the single, but uses it to clinch on the fence. And then toward the end of the round, gets a blast double off the fence. Really like seeing that late round action there. And then in the second round, he presses with some hooks on the inside. He shoots a single to the fence, can't get it again, but clinches. Then back on the feet, lands a step in, hook, but then he eats a 1-2. But he's able to cut off the cage, land a nice lunge jab with a lot of power behind it. And he shoots a single, but then he gets pulled into a guillotine at the end, but nothing comes of it. And then in the third round, he eats a 1-2, but he shoots a single to the fence. Not able to finish it, but able to get the clinch for a long time. So kind of slowing the action down there. And then he shoots, but then he gets caught in a mounted guillotine, and he tries to take his back, but then he gets reversed toward the end there. So just a little bit of losing in the scrambles. And then Damon Blackshear took on Josh Smith his last fight outside the organization. Then in the first round, he walks into a straight right and eats a body kick. Then he's able to stuff the double, and then he shoots again. But he gets put in a guillotine, but he's able to defend it. And then he has his crucifix around the back, scramble position. But he scrambles and he's able to get on the top and land some nice ground and pound. Then in the second round, he's able to get a single off the fence, get the back's crucifix again. He scrambles through, and then he gets the clinch back on the feet, doesn't let it go, doesn't lose position. I like seeing that. And then he hits a roll through anaconda, and then he gets back to the clinch when he can't get it. Then he gets a double, and he takes his back, and he puts one leg in, but then he kind of slides off and eats some ground and pound. But then he gets an underhook with the half guard, is able to buck him off and sweep. And then in the third round, he lands a lunge straight right, and he's able to slip the 1-2s. Then he's able to land an uppercut of his own, and then he stuffs a double, and he gets the back crucifix position again. He tries to hold on to the Kimura, but then he takes the back properly and gets the body triangle rear naked choke submission finish. So, you know, he looks pretty good, man. The line is really interesting. Damon plus 105, Yusuf minus 125. And Yusuf's actually coming down a weight class from 145 to 135. For whatever reason, that seems like a big difference between those two weight classes. And just seems like 135 or so much faster, if that makes sense. But, you know, Yusuf just kind of struggled in the scramble positions, and I think Damon Blackshear is going to do well there. I think he might even be able to take Yusuf's back or just laying on top of him. Yusuf might not be able to buck him off like he thinks he can. I think it's, you know, Damon, as long as he can take a couple of Yusuf shots, I think he's a good underdog here. I think he can win some of these scrambles. I think it could get greasy in the third round. I like the plus money. My pick here is Damon Blackshear. All right, second fight of the night at a catch weight of 180 pounds. This fight was supposed to happen last weekend. It got canceled because Josh QUINLAN tested positive for an unknown substance or whatever. But we got Jason Witt taking on Josh QUINLAN. I did it last weekend, but I'm just going to go over it again so it's fresh in everybody's mind. Jason Witt took on Philip Bro his last fight. In the first round, he's at range, slips some jabs, presses forward with the overhand, gets a double off the fence, and then he lands in half guard, does some good work there. But then back on the feet, he eats a straight shot and then a left hook while he's rushing forward. Then in the second round, he pressures to the fence. He shoots a double. He's able to get around his back, drag him back down when he gets up. And then but then back on the feet, he eats overhand right, and then he lands a left hook. So he eats overhand right, and then a left hook, and then over another overhand, and gets knocked out, unfortunately. So it's getting a little too overzealous there. Good in the wrestling, but chin just couldn't hold up, and he took too many shots, basically. And then Josh Quinlan, he took on Logan Urban his last fight outside of the organization. First round, he circles on the outside, lands a right cross, and he rocks him with repeated right crosses, and then he lands a right hook and gets the KO. So pretty easy for him. And then fight before that, he took on Dallas Jennings in the first round. He lands a left hook and then a straight right whenever he presses forward. And then he lands a step-in knee, throws some hooks. Then he lands a step-in leg kicks. And then he's able to cut him off, but he eats some overhands, but then he's able to circle out of there. But he's still making him feel his pressure. Then in the second round, he slips the straight shot and he lands a short left hook. Then he lands a lead right hook whenever he gets pressed, and he's able to cut him off again, but he eats a straight flurry and he gets rocked with the right hook. So maybe not the best strategy. But then in the third round, he rocks him with the straight right. He's able to stuff the double leg attempt, and he trips him with the front kick, and then gets into the ground and pound into side control, and then he's able to transition to full mount. He's able to take the back rear naked choke submission. So I like seeing that out of him. Josh Quinlan minus 250, Jason Witt plus 210. I originally picked Josh Quinlan. I don't like the price, but I just really think that Jason Witt is going to get lit up here. And, I shouldn't really change anything based upon it getting delayed a week, because Josh Quinlan may or may not have steroids in him, but that can only be good for me. So my pick here is still Josh Quinlan. Let's hope he wins, though. Okay, third fight of the night at 125 pounds. Men's flyweight, you got Ode Osbourne taking on Tyson Nam. Now, this is a low-key banger here. I mean, Tyson Nam has dynamite in his hands, and Ode Osbourne's on a nice little win streak here, really putting his career together. So I'm interested to see this. Ode Osbourne took on Zaruk Adeshev his last fight. In the first round, he presses forward, but he eats a jab. But then he gets rushed, and he eats another jab from there. But then he eats a 1-2, but he's able to land a counter overhand right, and he gets a knockout just like that. Who knew Ode Osbourne had titanic power as well. But then before that, he took on CJ Vergara. In the first round, he walks into some lead hooks, but he throws straights whenever he gets pressed. And then he gets pressed, and he eats a jab and then a left hook. But he's able to shoot the single leg to the fence. Then he lands a check right hook and then a left uppercut whenever they're on the inside. Then the second round, he just backs up, pumps his jabs, lands some jabs and some nice 1-2s. He lands a straight left and a right hook whenever he gets pressed. And then he slips the hook. He gets a double, but he's not able to hold him down very long, but still working there. Then he eats a short left hook while they're fighting on the inside, but then he eats some jabs and a head kick at range, but he's able to catch the kick and then work to his back for the rest of the round. Then in the third round, he jabs, and he's able to back out of the hook range this time, starting to figure out where he's at. Then he lands a straight right whenever he gets pressed inside the pocket. And then he gets clinched, but he eats some knees to the body, but then he gets lat dropped and eats some ground and pound. So kind of shits the bed in the third round or gives it up or whatever. I mean, he got the win. Maybe he knew, but not a good sign for me. And then Tyson Nam took on Matt Schnell his last fight. Now, this was January 2020. So this was, no, 2021, excuse me. This was a while ago. So about a year and a half layoff. But Matt Schnell, we know what he's done recently. And then in the first round, he's at range. He works in with the jab, tries to get inside. When he comes inside, he gets clipped with some hooks, and then he backs out. Then he lands an overhand right, but then he eats a 1-2-1 combo from Matt. Then in the second round, he lands a lead left hook whenever he gets pressed inside the pocket. Then he lands a step-in overhand right, though, and he walks into some jabs and eats a counter left hook whenever he's throwing his right hook. But then he presses forward with some overhands and some hooks, but they're just a little too short. Matt Schnell's a little too wise to it. Then in the third round, he presses, but he's too short with his jabs again, and then he kind of crashes in. They kind of crash into each other, and he lands a left hook to the body. But, close fight, not too much happened. Tyson Nam more concerned with landing that right hand. But we'll see. Tyson Nam plus 210, Ode Osbourne minus 250. Don't love the price on him, but a year and a half layoff. I mean, Matt Schnell isn't even the... He's really good. He's on the top of the division, and Tyson Nam basically couldn't do much. Couldn't really do anything. He was looking for that big shot. Landed, you could say, one big shot toward the end of the fight, but... And then Ode Osbourne, he kind of just looking really good with his movement. I don't like that they gave it the third round, but Tyson Nam, not really a wrestler. I don't think he's got to worry about that. So I think Ode Osbourne will just be able to pick him apart, basically. Tyson Nam might hit him once or twice, but after the first round, I think the odds increase for Ode Osbourne. My pick here is Ode Osbourne. The odds are bad, but under 2.5 rounds, minus 125. At flyweight, you never know. Flyweights have been ending early, so let's hit that. Ode Osbourne. On to the fourth fight of the card at 155 pounds, men's lightweight. You got Gabriel Mowgli Benitez. I think that's his name, taking on Charlie Ontiveros. This should be a fun, action-packed banger. First round or die for both guys, kind of. Benitez took on David ONAMA his last fight. In the first round, he lands some body and leg kicks, and then a 1-2. Step in, body, uppercut. Sorry, step in, lands an uppercut to the body, steps out, kind of sticks and moves. Then he lands a double jab and then a leg kick, but then he eats a straight left on the return. Then he lands a jab, and then a left hook, and he rocks him, chases him, lands some hooks, and lands an uppercut, kind of a flurry. And then he lands some body shots in the pocket, but then he eats a right hook counter. Then he gets rocked with a right hook, and then a straight left while he's circling. And then he starts eating some straight flurry on the fence and gets KO'd. So, you know, had his moments, but David ONAMA is a complete beast, I guess. Charlie Ontiveros took on Steve Garcia his last fight. In the first round, he lands a straight right off of his leg kick. Then he lands an axe kick, drops him with that, and then he lands a flurry, just kind of jumps on him. And then he lands a side kick, but he eats a straight left. But then he drops him with the check left. But then he gets doubled, taking out the double off the fence. But he's able to wall walk, get up using shoulder blades. But then he gets taken right back down. Then he eats some elbows in a north-south position. And then eats some more ground and pound in the full guard. Then in the second round, he eats overhand left. But he rocks him with a right uppercut and then a left hook. But then he gets taken down, put in full mount, eats some elbows and some ground and pound, gets TKO'd from there. So, pretty action-packed fight. And, you know, he's first rounder bust in my opinion. Charlie Ontiveros plus 290. Gabriel Benitez minus 350. I don't know, dude. This price is insane. I'm just thinking Gabriel Benitez because Charlie Ontiveros, he looked really sloppy. I'm not gonna say he got lucky, but I mean, who's gonna get hit with an axe kick? Gabriel Benitez knows it's coming. Benitez, kind of a solid fighter. It's just going to be a war here, and Charlie Ontiveros' only shot is in the first round. Is Benitez's chin that bad? I don't think so. This might be a stupid decision, but I'm going to go with Gabriel Benitez, and you hit the fight going under 100%. Who's going to get KO'd? I'm not still too entirely sure, but, you know, Gabriel Benitez by finish would be a good one, but who really knows? This fight's weird, but my pick here is Gabriel Benitez. Okay. Co-main event of the prelims at 125 pounds, women's flyweight. You got Cynthia Calvillo taking on Nina Nunes. This was scheduled a couple cards ago, and now it's finally happening. Calvillo took on Andrea Lee her last fight. In the first round, she stalks, but she walks into some jabs and some straight shots. Then she lands a step in right cross, but she gets countered and then pushed back. Then she catches the kick, and she's able to get around the back, get one hook in, but she can't really do much with it. Then in the second round, she gets pressed with some hooks to the body and then some knees to the body. She circles, but then she eats a lead left hook, and then she gets the body lock, but she's not able to keep it, not able to do much with it or advance the position. But then she lands a step in 1-2, but she doesn't follow up with anything. And then she eats some 1-2s standing at range, and then, you know, just kind of gets lit up basically. And then in the second round, retirement, just, you know, took too much damage. Then Nina Nunes took on Mackenzie Dern. This was a while ago. In the first round, she gets pressed with some straight shots, and then she gets clinched up, but she's able to break off. Back in the open, she eats a 1-2, and she gets taken down with the single leg trip, and then she gives up full mount, and then she gets submitted from an armbar because it's Mackenzie Dern. You can't let Mackenzie Dern get on top of you. So that is what it is. Nina Nunes plus 155. Cynthia Calvillo minus 180. Tough one. I guess you'd say middling women's fighters. And Nina Nunes took a couple years off to have a child, and then she came back to Mackenzie Dern. Rough one. And Cynthia Calvillo just hasn't been looking good lately. So I don't know, man. I'm just going to go Cynthia Calvillo. I think that, I don't know, I think she's going to have the fire underneath her. Nina Nunes, I think there's some intangibles there. I'm obviously married to Amanda Nunes. How is that going to affect her? I don't know. She's been off a long time. Didn't look good in her last fight. Cynthia Calvillo, it's do or die for her. Nina Nunes is a bit of a step down. I think she can, I don't know. I think she can press forward, push the pace. Might lose the first round, but I think we see a fired up Cynthia Calvillo here. It's a tough one, but my pick here is Cynthia Calvillo. So let's see. Let's ride with it, but I'd probably be wrong, but whatever. All right, now we got the main event of the prelims at 265 pounds. Men's heavyweight, you got Martin Buday take on Lucas BRZESKI. We got a fun slot fest here for you. Buday took on Chris Barnett his last fight. This was his UFC debut. In the first round, he walks into an overhand, but then he lands some straights of his own. He lands a straight right to the clinch against the fence. Then he able to land uses the right underhook to keep that pressure and uses good head position. I really like seeing that out of him. He knows what he's doing there. But then he eats a jab and a leg kick at range, but then he eats overhand, but he's able to get the clinch after that. And then in the second round, he walks through the body kicks, and he's able to land some straights, and able to get to the clinch position again. But then he eats a overhand in the pocket, and then he gets clinched to the fence, but then he's able to reverse that clinch, pummel out. But then he just starts ripping the body in the clinch toward the end of the second round. Then in the third round, he gets the tie plum, but then he eats a right cross, but he's able to get the underhook clinch again. Then he lands some knees, and he drops him with some ground and pound, gets around the back. But he elbows him to the back of the head, and they goes to the scorecards, and he wins. Should have been DQ, who knows. I think he was possibly on his way to finishing Chris Barnett, but he looked really good, basically just utilizing the underhook in the clinch. Held solid position. Then Lucas BRZESKI, he took on Dylan Potter his last fight, Dana White's Contender Series. In the first round, he lands some leg kicks and then a jab, then a right hook. He lands a 1-2, and then he steps into the pocket. He lands an overhand right and a jab and a flurry against the fence. He lands a leg kick, and he grabs him, and he pushes him down into side control. He lands some nice ground and pound, and he's able to get out of the armbar attempt, half-assed attempt, but anyway, he was aware of it. But then he starts looking tired on the feet, starts swinging at some sloppy wild hooks. Then he lands a jab and then a power straight right from range, like really puts a lot of weight behind it. Then in the second round, he eats a spinning back elbow, but he's able to get it around his back from that position. Then he lands a jab and a right cross to the clinch, and then he lands a face kick, follows up with the 1-2. Then he gets the body lock, able to drag him down into side control, crucifix position, and then he's able to get around the back, lands some nice ground and pound from there. Then in the third round, he lands a right hook, gets a tie plum again, and then he blitzes, gets the plum again, and then lands a 1-2. He's able to stuff the takedown attempt, and he's able to get around his back from there. And back on the feet, he misses with the right cross, eats a 1-2 on the return, but he's able to clinch, lands a knee to the head, and then he gets a double, gets the rear naked choke, no hooks in, and gets a submission out of that. So, you know, just kind of two sloppy heavyweights going at it, but he showed some reserve, and he showed some decent skills on the ground. Lucas BRZESKI plus 235, Martin Buday minus 280. I'm going to go with Martin Buday. The price is terrible, but Lucas BRZESKI looked small. He looked like he was gassing out. Maybe he's a first-round fighter. Martin Buday looks like he can go all 3 rounds, and he pretty much did with Chris Barnett. And like I said, I liked seeing him utilize that underhook clinch. I think he'll be able to get to those positions a lot. BRZESKI doesn't really have any huge power. I think Buday is going to win those grappling positions, clinch him up, land some elbows, maybe get a TKO toward the end of the fight. Who knows? But you want to go Martin Buday by decision plus 300, maybe. I don't know. It's a heavyweight, so. But, you know, I don't know if I see him finishing or not. But heavyweight plus 300, not a bad spot. My pick here, Martin Buday. On to the main event of the prelims, for real. Sorry, fights got switched around. At 115 pounds, women's strawweight, you got Angela Overkill Hill taking on Lupita Godinez. Lupi Godinez, I think. Anyway, this should be a low-key banger. Angela Hill really needs a win here, basically to save her career. And Lupi's trying to rise up the ranks, and a win over Angela Hill will definitely legitimize her. Shows she can get a win over the veteran talent, and should be a banger, man. Angela Hill took on Verna Jandaroba her last fight. In the first round, she backs out of range, but she gets pressed, eats a jab, she gets clinched toward the fence, but she's able to get out of the knee bar attempt. But then she gets on top, but then she's able to get the clinch, has the underhook, but then she starts eating some knees from that position. They break free, and then she circles and she presses with some jabs, gets a knee tap, but does the Kimura from the bottom position into like a scramble position instead of like really trying to focus on top control. So I didn't like that out of her. And then the second round, she lands some jabs, but she eats overhand. But she enters with the uppercut to the underhook clinch. But then they break free, and then she's able to dip the overhand. And then she goes directly into the clinch. But then she lands the overhand right at range. But then she gets blast doubled, but she's able to defend the Kimura and the armbar attempts from Verna. Then in the third round, she lands an overhand right, and then she presses with a jab. But then she lands a right uppercut, and then a hook inside the pocket, but she eats a jab, and she gets taken down with a single leg. Switch off to a double by Verna, and she tries to get up, but then she gets doubled again, and then she kind of concedes the position, unfortunately. And then she's in half guard, she gives out the back position, gets put in the rear naked choke, doesn't submit, but not a great way to end the fight. And then Lupita Godinez, she took on Ariana Carnelossi her last fight. In the first round, she presses, she hits a shrug by, and she tries to get in the side guillotine, kind of has like side guillotine, kind of almost like a cradle in wrestling. And then she tries to go to the rear naked choke with no hooks, and then she gets the hook. Then she's able to hook the back ankle, and then she takes the back, and she pulls her back down when she gets up, and then she lands in half guard, lands some really nice and heavy ground and pound. I like seeing that. Then in the second round, she gets pressed, but she rocks her with the overhand right, and then she gets a blast double into side control, some nasty ground and pound again, and then she gets the back, gets both hooks in, and then she's able to work into half guard, lands some more ground and pound, works for the Kimura, then a nice arm triangle attempt to end the round. Then in the third round, she's able to duck the hook, gets a blast double again, gets her on the back, lands some more nasty ground and pound. Then they get back on the feet. She lands some knees in the clinch, hits the double again. So she's just a relentless wrestler here. Really good with the double leg. Lupita is minus 325, and Angela Hill is plus 270. And I'm going to go with Loopy here because Angela Hill could not stop Verna's takedowns, and toward the end of the round, she was just kind of conceding the position. Lupita has a great blast double. That's like her main go-to. I think Angela might be able to give her some trouble early on. Might be able to sting her with some shots. Angela does sting people, but she doesn't knock people out. Doesn't really drop people too much. So I think Lupita will be good there. This is kind of a no-brainer for me. I mean, it's women's. It's kind of like middle level. Anything can really happen, and can't really count Angela Hill out. I just don't see her having the tools to beat Lupita here. And you want to go Lupita by decision, minus 150. You know, her past couple fights won the decision. Angela Hill has never been finished, so I like that. My pick here, Loopy Godinez. Okay. On to the first fight of the main card. What a way to kick it off here. Should be a fun one. 185 pounds, men's middleweight. You got Bruno Silva taking on Gerald Meerschaert. You know, some violence potentially. Silva took on Alex Pereira his last fight. In the first round, he blitzes and he misses most of the shots, but then he lands an overhand right in the pocket, presses forward, lands a jab. Then he lands an overhand and then a leg kick, and then he hits the blast double. Can't really keep him down for too long though. Pereira decent on getting up, but then he eats a right cross and a flurry against the fence. Second round, he lands some overhands in the pocket, but he eats some body shots, but he's able to return hooks to the body. They're kind of going at it here. Then he lands a body shot, then some leg kicks, and he's able to get the blast double off of Pereira's straight shot, and he keeps the clinch against the fence. Then he eats some knees to the body in the clinch, but he's able to keep the overhook and get it all the way to the fence. But then he slips the left hook, and then he lands a left and then a right hook. And then in the third round, he lands a 1-2 and then some leg kicks. His double attempt gets stuffed, though. Then he gets clinched to the fence, but he able to pummel with the underhook in the body lock position, but then eats some straights while he's just kind of standing at range there. Then he gets rocked with the lead left hook, eats a flurry from Pereira. You know how heavy that guy hits. But then he clinches, but he eats an uppercut flurry again, and then he shoots a desperate double. It gets stuffed. But then they both get into a firefight. He lands some straight rights, but then he gets rocked with the uppercuts at the end. But he hung in there with Alex Pereira, and his chin held up, and he landed some shots of his own. So I thought it was impressive. Now, Pereira, obviously not a grappler, but you know, I thought he showed a lot of good in his stand-up. And then Gerald Meerschaert took on Krzysztof Jotko his last fight. In the first round, he stalks, eats some overhands and some hooks, but then he eats a face kick in a 1-2, and then he gets the clinch to the fence, but then he gets reversed. Then in the second round, he eats overhand right at range, but then he lands some jabs. He gets the clinch and the body lock, but he just cannot get the takedown here. And then he lands some hooks, throws some hooks to get into the clinch position, but he gets reversed and he gives up his back, and he eventually gets drugged down and ridden out for the rest of the round. Then in the third round, he presses, lands some overhand lefts, but then he walks right into a double leg from Krzysztof, and then he gets the underhook, has half guard, and he's able to stand up, but then again gets back on the ground again. A half-ass triangle attempt, doesn't really have anything, and just kind of hangs out on bottom. You know, he has his like butterfly guard, but he's looking for submissions, but nothing's really happening, and just kind of concedes, and not a great performance from him. But Gerald Meerschaert plus 240, and Bruno Silva minus 285. I've been going back and forth all day. I just cannot put almost minus 300 on Bruno Silva. Yes, Gerald Meerschaert has a bad chin. Yes, Bruno Silva hits hard, but you know, Bruno Silva is not really a great grappler. Meerschaert, I think he could win these clinch positions if he doesn't get hit. Meerschaert has a tendency to get his ass beat in the first round, and if he doesn't get knocked out, I think he could win this fight, possibly. I don't know, but I just really like that price. I think he might be able to get the clinch, might be able to get a takedown, get around his back somehow. Even if he's on the bottom, he might be able to sweep, something like that. I don't know. I'm going to take a shot on Meerschaert. Jared Mershart, baby. Big dog money. Okay. Second fight of the main card at 135 pounds, women's bantamweight. I believe this is a catchweight, actually. Maybe like 140 or something like that, whatever. Oh, no, they bumped it up to 135 because it was supposed to happen last weekend, and I believe Ariane had weight-cutting issues. So, but we got Ariane, the queen of violence, Lipski taking on Priscilla Cachoeira. And, yeah, Ariane took on Mandy Bohm her last fight. In the first round, she landed some jabs and some straights to the body, but then she's able to step over the body lock attempt, and she's able to get on top position and throw her hips in. Really nice reversal there. But then she lands a head kick and a hook flurry. Then in the second round, she lands an overhand right as Mandy's coming in, and then she gets a double, and then she's able to get a double, drops, level changes, gets a double, and then she lands some knees to the head. And then she lands a knee to the body and then a check right hook whenever she gets rushed. And then she's able to drop her with that check right hook. Then in the third round, she lands a head kick whenever Bohm level changes. And then she lands a right cross and a jab. And she just kind of walks her down from here, really feeling herself. And then she drops her with another straight 1-2, just right down the pipe. And then she lands a right cross to the body, but she's able to stuff the shot again in the front headlock. And then she lands some ground and pound, and she tries to go for the crucifix toward the end of the fight. And I really like seeing that. She always was trying to finish the fight. She dropped her 2-3 times, I think. And, you know, I really like seeing that tenacity out of her. And then Priscilla Cachoeira, she took on Jeon Kim her last fight. In the first round, she stalks at range, enters with the overhand right. She just kind of follows Kim, doesn't really cut her off. And then she gets a blast double with 5 seconds left. So, you know, that's kind of her game plan there. I think she can win the round like that. Then in the second round, she walks into some jabs and some 1-2s from Kim, but she's able to land a Superman punch and some wild hooks toward the end of the round. But Kim just kind of like piecing her up most of the time. Then in the third round, she presses, lands some right crosses, but she eats some jabs and hooks whenever she's rushing towards her. But then she walks into some more right crosses, but then she just starts landing some right elbows off of her jab and just kind of goes berserk. And, you know, I guess she's stole the fight in the judge's mind, so it is what it is. I don't think she won. I thought it was closer than people might have thought, but, you know. But Priscilla's got that dog in her, man, so, and they were hard shots, so. Priscilla Cachoeira plus 160, and Ariane minus 190. I already picked Ariane. I think she's going to be able to keep it clean, keep it at range, drop her with some 1-2s. And, you know, as long as she doesn't welcome Priscilla into a firefight, I think she'll be okay. My pick here, Ariane Lipski. Third fight on the main card, 205 pounds, men's light heavyweight. A potential banger right here. You got Devin Clark taking on Azamat Murzakanov. There we go. Devin Clark took on William Knight his last fight. It was up at heavyweight, but William Knight's really a 205er that couldn't make weight. Anyway, in the first round, he lands a lunge jab, blast double, but he gets caught in the standing guillotine for a long time, but he's not really in danger, just kind of waiting it out. But then he eats a jump knee and a flurry, but he hits a high crotch from the front headlock position. Then he's able to get to the clinch, and he's kind of keeping there for the rest of the round. And then the second round, he presses with the lead left hook, and then he lands a right cross to the blast double, gets in a half guard, then full mount, does some work in there. Really nice second round for Devin Clark. Then in the third round, he throws some jabs at range, but they're a little too short. Then he lands a lead left hook, and he gets a double to the clinch, and then he lands a right elbow, left hook, that rocks him, and then he lands an overhand right and gets the KO, knocks him the fuck out. Unexpectedly, Devin Clark has got power on William Knight, and his cardio held up, so, you know, he looked really good. He really needed a bounce back win, took a beating from me and Quintalabo, but this dude's tough as hell. So, really nice win from him. And then Azamat Murzakanov took on Tufan and Njakui. Tufan Chakui, there we go. In the first round, he bounces in and out, lands a step-in jab, then an overhand, then he jabs the body, and then he lands a big overhand left, and then he rushes with the right hook, but then he misses the overhand, and then he eats a 1-2 from there. But then in the second round, he catches the kick, lands the overhand, but he's not able to get around the back, but then he eats some knees in the tie plum from Nzechukwu and Chukwi. His name's Chukwi. I'm sorry. And then but then he shoots a blast double, but then it gets stuffed. But he slips the jabs and he starts landing some 1-2s. But then he eats a jab and then a head kick. But then in the third round, he eats a head kick at range, but he lands the overhand left whenever he gets pressed. And then just a flying knee out of nowhere gets the KO. So decent performance from him. I thought he was, I don't know, it was close, it was competitive, you know, and he did seem to be getting a little tired, but he's got that knockout power, obviously. Azamat minus 145, Devin Clark plus 125. I'm going to go with Devin Clark here, slight underdog. I think his cardio is going to hold up. I think that's going to be a big factor in this fight. I think Devin Clark's wrestling is going to be a factor in the second and the third rounds. Might eat some shots early on, but I think Devin Clark is, you know, he learned a lot from the Ian Cutelaba fight. He took the entire beating, came back and beat a tough customer in William Knight, you know. So I like what I saw out of him. I like the underdog price. Devin Clark, baby. Okay. On to the feature fight of the main card at 115 pounds, women's strawweight. You got two UFC newcomers. You got Yasmin Jauregui taking on Yasmin Lucindo. Battle of the Jasmines. Jauregui took on Claire Lopez her last fight, obviously outside the organization. In the first round, she lands a leg kick and a 1-2. She bounces in and out, and then she lands some leg kicks, and then she keeps circling. But she eats a straight right off of her leg kick, but then she lands a jab, and then a 1-2, and then a left hook, and she throws a 1-2, and she gets doubled, but she gets right back up, and then she breaks out of the clinch, and then she's able to land a hook, and then a straight flurry, and she's able to get the clinch with the underhook, and then she lands some hooks, and then a left hook, and then another flurry, and just gets the KO. Just kind of goes crazy on her, and you know, I liked what she was able to do in the clinch. I really like seeing people utilize the underhook, get the maximum control out of it. And then Yasmin Lucindo took on BRZESKI Canelon. I'm sorry. In the first round, she eats some step-in jabs, but she looks for hooks on the counter. Then she eats a 1-2, but then she clinches her to the fence. She gets the body lock, but then she gets taken down inside control. And lands some, she gets the takedown inside control and then lands some half guard ground and pound, and it's vicious ground and pound, trust me. And then she's able to get the back mount, lands some ground and pound from there, tries to armbar at the end of the round, doesn't get it, but like she went for it. And then in the second round, she lands a straight right and then a left hook. She lands a 1-2 whenever she gets pressed, and then she ducks and she's able to get the body lock, takedown, into half guard, ground and pound, TKO, just vicious. And all right, so take a look at the betting line. Yasmin Lucindo plus 175. Yasmin Lucindo plus 175. Yasmin Jauregui minus 205. Yeah, I don't know much about either fighter. Kind of hard to find tape. I never heard of the organizations they fought in before. I'm just going to go with the underdog here. It's low-level women's fighting, there, basically. And, you know, last time this happened, they did this. Sorry, I can't remember the names, but it was two unknown women they fought. The underdog won, so I'm just going to go with the underdog here. She has nasty ground and pound. Lucindo, if she can get it to the ground in the later rounds, I think she has the advantage. Yasmin Lucindo. Okay. On to the co-main event of the evening. I hope you like violence. At 145 pounds, men's featherweight, you got Nate the Train Landwehr taking on David the Silent Assassin ONAMA. ONAMA, quick turnaround. He fought about a month ago, so this should be a good one here. Now, as a co-main event, I don't really think it should be a co-main event necessarily, but, you know, both guys on win streaks, both guys exciting fighters, knockout power, finishing abilities, and they need to beat each other to get to the upper echelon, try to break into the top 15. This is a pivotal fight for both guys, and I'm excited for it. Nate Landwehr took on Ludwig Klein his last fight in the first round. He keeps a high guard up like this, and he circles on the outside. He eats a straight left at range, but then he eats a knee, and he gets clinched, but he's able to reverse, pull him out of the position. Then he eats a body kick and a 1-2, but then he's able to land a right hook on the return. Then he lands a straight right from range. He eats a 1-2, but he gets the clinch, and then he lands a straight flurry, and he pulls for the tie plum, and then lands some nice knees to the body in the first round. So Nate the Train's looking good. Second round, he walks in at a 1-2, and then a head kick, but he gets the clinch, and he lands a right cross on the clinch break. I like seeing that kind of stuff. He throws an uppercut, and he lands an overhand right in the pocket exchange. He gets the front headlock, lands some knees, and then he pulls, goes for the Darce. Doesn't get it, but decent attempt. Then back on the feet, he lands a right cross to the clinch, lands an uppercut, and then a hook flurry, and that rocks him toward the end of the round. And then in the third round, he moves in and out with a straight right, but he gets clipped with the overhand left, but he's mostly blocking, keeps that high guard. Then they get into a fire fight, and he lands a straight right. He's able to stuff the double leg attempt, and then he gets the Darce submission, rolls through. Perfect. It's either an Anaconda or Darce. I'm sorry. I don't know. I thought it was a Darce. But a front choke submission, he gets it. So really nice stuff out of him. And, you know, looked tough, had power, and went all 3 rounds. Looked really good in my opinion. And then David ONAMA took on Garrett Armfeld his last fight. Armfeld coming in short notice. Usually a 135er, bumped up a weight class. But I still think ONAMA looked decent. In the first round, he lands some jabs and he moves in and out, but he gets clinched to the fence, but he gets around the back. He's able to get the mat return, but Gary Gramby's out. And then ONAMA tries to get the Kimura, but then he gets put in the full guard, but able to escape eventually. He doesn't take too much damage, but then he eats a lead left hook whenever they're in exchange, standing at range. Then he misses an overhand and he eats uppercut. But then he gets clinched, but he's able to stuff the double leg attempt, and then he lands a left hook. He sticks him with a jab and some 1-2s. So really started feeling himself, really starts finding his range here. Then in the second round, he lands a jab, but he misses the overhand, but he's able to stuff a double leg attempt again, gets around the back, picks him up, gets the mat return. He gets both hooks in, transitions to the triangle, and then gets a submission. So, sorry, transitions to the arm triangle, gets a submission. So, yeah, dude, looked really good. And, you know, short notice, but he did what he was supposed to do, gets a submission. And had a really powerful squeeze on top. And, you know, look, conditioning-wise, looked good through the second round. David ONAMA, minus 300. Nate the Train, plus 250. Tough one, man. I'm thinking ONAMA is a first-round type of guy. But Nate the Train has got knocked out before. He gets has a penchant for getting knocked out. But for some reason, I think he can survive. I think he can survive the onslaught of ONAMA early, and then I think in those, when they get into a firefight in the second or the third round, I think Nate's going to be able to land. I think he's going to press him with some takedowns or some clinch attempts, get him on the inside, get dirty with him. I think Nate the Train can get it done, dude. For plus 250, I don't think David ONAMA is worth minus 300. I think that's way too much. And in my opinion, you're really looking at that first round. Can Nate the Train survive? I think so. Big underdog money. I'm going to go with him. Nate the Train, baby. On to the main event of the evening at 135 pounds, men's bantamweight. Got Marlon Chito Vera taking on Dominic the Dominator Cruz. Huge fight for the division. Aljamain and TJ are going to go at it for the title. You got Peter Yan taking on Sean O'Malley. And then next weekend, you got Merab taking on Jose Aldo. I mean, come on. This division keeps moving. My favorite division, personally. Huge fight for the guy, man. I think whoever wins is in the title picture, you know. I think Marlon might move a little faster than Dominic does. But, you know, if they want to stay in this race, stay in this tournament, so to speak, they need to win. This should be violent. It should be strategic. It should be everything, man. So pumped for it. Let's get into it. Marlon Vera took on Rob Font his last fight in a 5-round fight. In the first round, he eats a leg kick and a 1-2 at range, but he returns with a body kick. He eats a jab, but then he circles. Just keeps trying to move and not take too much damage. Keeps that high guard, but then he eats a leg kick and a right cross on the inside. But he comes in, he eats some jabs and some straights, and he gets pushed back. Marlon kind of takes up the first round, typically. But in the second round, he gets pressed with jabs, but he lands a head kick, but then he eats some straights for his troubles. But then he circles and he gets pushed with some straights, but he blocks with the high guard, keeps it, mostly the whole fight. Then he lands a step-in body kick, but he eats a 1-2 at range. And he gets kind of pushed back with jabs, but then he squares up and he catches his kick, and then he pressures, and he lands a left hook that rocks him, and then he stuffs a single, and then lands some ground and pound to end the second round. And, you could just sense something was turning. Like, he was kind of losing, getting outstruck, but those shots were undeniably damaging. Then in the third round, he gives up his back standing, but he breaks the grip, turns in, squares up. He eats some jabs at range, but then he lands some kicks, fires some straight lefts. He eats some straights in the pocket, but he has a high guard, circles out, doesn't take the damage. Then he lands a lead left hook, and he drops him, and then he drops him with a jump knee right at the end of the third round. That's like the last 3 seconds of these rounds. Marlon Vera is very dangerous, and he basically won the fight on the last 3 seconds of each round. It's pretty impressive. Then in the fourth round, he presses with the 1-2 and then a jump knee, but eats uppercut and then a right cross. But he circles, looks for his jab or a straight shot, but then he lands a side kick to the face at range, and that drops him. Obviously, he gives Chito the round again. Then in the fifth round, he gets backed up with some straights, but he keeps circling around the cage, skirting the cage, and then he lands a face kick in the pocket. Then he lands some jabs from range, and he's able to duck the hook on the inside, and then he blocks the hook to the body and then the head, and then he lands a side face kick again to end the fight. Just beautiful, man. Hurts him. Rob Font is a tough son of a bitch. I mean, if you've seen his face, I mean, I've never seen anything like that. But very violent, and Chito's got power, and he might be losing, but he knows when to pull the trigger, man. And then Dominic Cruz took on Pedro Munoz his last fight. In the first round, he ducks the head kick, lands a 1-2. Then he lands a lunge straight right, and then a left hook. But he gets dropped with a jab whenever he's throwing his looping left. And then he gets dropped again with another left hook whenever he tries to get back up. But it's him just trying to regain his balance. So it wasn't like technically 2 drops, but, you know, it's kind of a scramble situation. But he dives for the leg, gets into a Peterson position, and then he's able to get up from there. Then he eats a jab and then a right cross against the fence. Then he lands some hooks and then goes for the ankle pick, but he can't hold him down, maybe like 1 second. Then he blitzes forward, lands a left, and then he lands a hook flurry toward the end of the round. Then in the second round, he lands a leg kick and a 1-2 at range. Then he lands 1-2s. Remember, he gets pressed from Pedro. And then he throws some straights and he backs up and he circles around, just trying to find his range, keep his distance. Then he lands a straight left and then a blitz. And then he presses forward, lands some more lead hooks, and then he lands a hook flurry. He lands a hook flurry, and then he lands a knee to the head toward the end of the round. Then in the third round, he circles out of the body kick range from Pedro. Then he eats a short right, but he eats a short right when it's entering the pocket. But he lands some knees to the body. He's able to duck the hook, and he shoots him to the fence. Can't do much with it, but still keep him guessing. It's kind of Dom's game. Then he lands a 1-2 from the open, and then he enters the pocket and lands another hook flurry. So, you know, really impressive, really tough adversity in the first round, but he comes back, and dude, Dom Cruz, they say he doesn't have power, but he was doing some damage, man. Like, those were stinging him, and Pedro Munoz has never got knocked out, so, you know. But I take a look at the line here. Dominic Cruz plus 200, Chito Vera minus 240. I've been going back and forth all day. When I first heard about this fight, I was like, oh, Marlon's going to knock him out. But you know what? The more I think about it, I don't know. I don't know. I think Dominic Cruz can steal the first round because Marlon gives up the first round a lot. He might take some damage, he might eat some kicks, but Dominic Cruz kind of like, he can get dropped and he comes back. I'm counting on that. I'm counting on his durability. I think he might get dropped at one point with a kick or something, but he's also one of the smartest people in the sport, and he knows Chito's game. He's definitely watched all these fights many times over. He knows that stuff's coming. I think he'll be able to just stick and move, stay on the outside, and then press Chito, because Rob Font was doing that with Chito, and Chito really wasn't getting too much off. It was only whenever Rob Font kind of allowed Chito to square back up with him, and then when Chito would move forward, that's when he hit him with those big shots toward the end of the round. And I think Dom's going to be aware of that he landed those big shots at the end of the round. So I'm going to go with Dominic Cruz here, man. I like the underdog money. Everybody's talking like Marlon's going to roll him over, and, you know, I don't know. I just had a feeling about it. But anyway, my pick here is Dominic the Dominator Cruz. All right, everyone, I appreciate you rolling with me. Sorry I had such a terrible week last weekend and the past couple weekends, but it's a new week. I did my research. That's all I can do. Check the description, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, all that stuff. Check the links. Check out Sports Social Steel City. They're awesome. And leave a comment down below. Like, share, subscribe, please. It really helped me out. And if you think I suck, let me know I suck. And I'm always open to advice. I could use it, obviously. I'm not doing so well, but we're going to change it this weekend. Anyway, guys, let's see some underdogs win. Let's see some violence. Let's see some profits. And good luck, everyone.